The Diamond Guide is a good tool for analysing images that are in portrait format. Once you've analysed a composition, you might come up with some ideas of how the composition could be improved. I didn't think anything should be changed in the images by Raphael and Bottoni, but I did have some thoughts about a painting by Veronese. This is my version of the Virgin and Child with angels appearing to saints. The original painting is by Paolo Veronese. This is a simpler image than the one by Raphael, but there are similarities within the composition. This image could also be separated into a top image and a bottom image. When I place the Diamond Guide above, you can see that in this image the divide isn't exactly on that central line. The bottom half of the image is slightly larger. It more loosely conforms to that horizontal line, but the image can still be seen as two separate images. I don't think Veronese makes his compositions central enough. The key figures in the image are placed between the central line and the left vertical. The Diamond Guide would suggest a more central composition. It might seem as though that would require a complete change in the image, although it doesn't need to be too drastic. Although I am presuming the image hasn't been created yet and is just in the planning stage. The version by Veronese is still a beautiful image and shouldn't be changed or altered. Finding a minor criticism of a fantastic piece of artwork doesn't mean that I dislike the piece or am being cruel. It means that I found something to learn from, and as an artist that means that the painting has become an important part of my artistic development. The changes that I would make to the composition are as follows. Firstly, I would change how the composition is heavily slanted towards the left. The key aspects of the painting are closer to the left vertical line as opposed to the centre. I don't want to change the grouping of the figures, because there are parts that I like, and if I shifted the entire composition to the centre, the figure on the right would need to be moved. And that would change the relationship between the two figures at the bottom. The first thing that I've done is flip the top half of the image. Because I couldn't shift the figures to the centre, I felt that having one figure on the lower left vertical and one figure on the upper right vertical would give the illusion that the composition is more central. It isn't the ideal option. It would be much better to have more key subject matter on the central line. Although I don't want to change the content of the image. You can see that the body of the man in the bottom left is close to that diagonal line, but moving him closer to the line will help the composition. By moving the figures to the left, I've placed both of their faces on the outer vertical lines, and the shape between them conforms to the V shape that is the bottom half of the diamond. This really improves the composition. You'll notice that I haven't removed much of the piece. I haven't tampered a great deal with the content of the artwork. I've only changed the composition. I've used Photoshop to give you a clearer idea of how this alternative composition would look. There is one more thing that I would have changed. I would have had Mary looking towards the figure on the bottom left. I think this would have tied the whole composition together and made it more interesting. I think it needs that connection between the two figures. However, I didn't want to change the content of this piece of artwork. This is why I use Veronese's composition in my final version. Thankfully, making my own version gave me the opportunity to explore a different composition without cutting up an image of the original. I respect this piece of artwork, and I don't want to engage in that kind of practice. I'm trying to be respectful and learn from all these artworks. Suggesting changes is part of that process, but I always aim to be respectful of other artists and their work. I don't think the original piece by Veronese is of the same standard as the artworks by Raphael and Bertoni, but that doesn't mean it's a bad piece of artwork. If we all compared our artwork to Raphael, we would all become very, very critical.